Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI live noding. In this video, I'm going to revisit my old ideas. A few years ago, I was writing this blog article about Adobe Kuler. This Kuler website provides like people like a way to share kind of a combination of colors, color palette, and then I talk about it. Okay, what is Adobe Kuler? You can read in these old articles. And in this article, I basically I was learning to use Python, and then I was trying to kind of get access to the Adobe Kuler color palette because I know they have like many like database kind of colors, and I wish to be able to just grab the color automatically from inside Blender. And I know that Blender can use Python, and then there is by accident I found this web project by Dolph. Dolph also I think one of the Blender artists, and one of his script allows us to source the color data from Kuler, and that time I was using just Python, and then I can load it and I can assign the color all by using Python. I thought I will do the same thing, but this time I will use something like animation nodes or Spreadchalk. Just try to turn this script into a node because sometimes for an artist can or want to have access to something like Adobe Kuler, like a database of something like a data, and they want to use it. They want to use the data and maybe to make a visualization or just grab the data for the, other uses. And for them to have to learn Python is another big step. So I thought maybe I can kind of make like a script node, kind of help that to bridge that kind of a gap to the complexity that they might need. So by chance, I actually, instead of using Adobe Kuler, I found about this colorlovers.com website, and this website apparently does similar thing to the Adobe Kuler, and it provides you with this color ideas, color palettes ideas, pattern ideas, and shapes ideas that you can actually source, and you can combine the colors, and then it's a very interesting website. And luckily they also have this module, Python module that you can install on your computer using Python, and then you can use. And because it's Python, and very luckily it's a module that's easily ported into Blender. If you so this is the old Kuler, this is a new Kuler website. I don't want to touch the Kuler because it's Adobe, but it can be useful still. Anyway, we're gonna focus on this color lover website, and then try to kind of access their database using the provided API. You can read the documentations and then read about this color lovers API using different language, and at the bottom you will find the ones using Python, which is this, only like a short example, and there's a GitHub. So I found that usually there are lots of developers put a lot of useful tools on GitHub. They're just waiting for you to be used. If you don't know Python, you don't have access to it, and then you don't know how to use the tools, maybe unless someone ported it and make it into Blender add-on. But I think to skip like Blender add-ons, all that, script node is a good way. It's kind of like a you can pick like a code from GitHub and then turn it into a script node. It's become like a nodes that you can use. So I wrote down about it because I can't explain everything from zero. So I wrote down how I managed to make the script nodes to do it. But basically, if you look at these articles, basically I mentioned the prerequisite. You need to have the color lovers Python module installed and then placed inside the Blender Python side package. Once you have that module, you can simply grab my script node at the very bottom, and okay, get random color palette. That's because that's what's interesting. You can get random color, but random color is random color is nothing but random color palette. When you have like someone else that have like this color combination ideas, and then they save it into color lover website, you can actually access it using their API. And I create this like a quick script notes that definitely can be improved, but I will show it to you how this actually works. So I grab the code from the web, from my blog articles, and then this is actually a script node for animation node. So I will create just a script node real quick, and I will paste the code in here. I'm gonna give it some color, and let's have a look how this script works. File save as this is an color lovers 001. In the script, if I'm actually, I should have given like information what's you need for input and output. I haven't added that, but I think for the output we can just give it like it's gonna be a color output from here. Let me have a read at the code real quick. So the code is using the color lovers module, which is a Python code that I'm importing here. And in here, in the next code, it says it's loading an object called color lovers, and then with that object we can get random palettes, and then get random palettes, and then that random palettes will have like a list of color objects, and the color objects we want to export it out. We want to pipe out in this node using this node script as a bunch of colors, and that colors is combination, can be 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 or 5 colors, and it really depends. So this script look at the color inside this palette, and then kind of converting it to kind of a data value that's animation nodes can understand, and then we can pipe into Blender objects, right? That's the whole idea basically. So let's have a look. Color list append. So apparently the output needed is a color. Okay, we need to output a color. It's RGBA. So I specify here color, and it's not just a single color, it's actually multiple color. So I say color list, and be careful with a script node. Sometimes we don't want it to load all the times for every frame. Sometimes we just want to update it when we make changes. So I turn off always. Turn on frame change. In this case, I want, whenever I make a change to the frame number, I want it to kind of run the code and then grab random palette from the color lovers website. Okay, so the idea, of course, to be able to access this maybe around 500,000 of color palettes that we can choose. Of course, I have to say that you can go to their website and then browse it manually, browse over 500,000 of a lot of things. But I think a better way is to make a setup for yourself that's enable you to have a faster ways to see the result. Let's say you have like a furniture or a room or like an object that you want to pick a good color for it. By using this setup that I want to show you, you can do that real quick. In my last video, I think I posted a demo of this, in like a quick demo of it. So here's a demo of color lovers being executed. So it's really easy to set up, and I just leave it after just like a few minutes or half hour, and then I came out with 1,000 variations of colors, and and it also spits out the name of the color palette. So this is something that you can get from this setup. So sometimes you have like 3 color combinations, sometimes you have 5, and then it will update accordingly. So it depends on the data you give in. Okay, so let's take a look. So we're gonna output a color list. Okay, seems everything is ready. Let's name this, by the way, get random color palette, and create a node, and then let's test it real quick. The output's gonna be list of color, like I said. Let's use a debug drawer. Put it there and update the frame, and then by updating this frame, and obviously this script node is using the module, and then it grabs a random color from color lover's website, and then we get this. Okay, this is a 5 different colors that we can use right away. So it's a very easy, very simple. And I want to, okay, now we want to use the color. How do we use the color, right? I will use some Blender cycles for this, and then I will kind of pipe the colors as a color vertex color for objects. It's gonna be per object basis. So the idea is we have 5 colors. Okay, it's ready, and then we want to colorize our objects in the 3D scene automatically. So okay, let's see, let's have a think how we can do that. First of all, I will create a material here, and the material we're gonna, this is because this is cycles, I will gonna switch to cycles material. This is a node, and then I know that we need to pipe in the vertex color at some point, and then the name should be col, C-O-L. So that's ready for us. The next thing we need to do is maybe we need object instancer. Okay, just like this is like a preview for our color lovers setup. Let's grab this object. This is the master object, like I said, and we want a way that if this node says, okay, there's 5 colors, make 5 objects and give the colors to each of these 5 objects. Okay, I want that to be automatic. So I'll grab this master cube, grab it, and here the instance, the number of the instance, it's really depending on the number of colors. So I just plug that in. Now we have this. Turn on copy full object, turn on deep copy, and then we're gonna just loop this guy. Tap W, loop through objects. Now for each and every object, we want to access the color. So color list, just pipe the color list. And then here for the objects, we want to spawn it here in the somewhere. So object transform output, turn on location, pipe the objects, and for the location just use the index, and I need to update it. So remember that at the moment, whenever I'm updating the frame, it's gonna reload this and get the random palette. Okay. And then the next thing I will do is to create this vertex color, set vertex color, and this works with cycles. Plug the objects in and plug the color, and I believe this is actually ready to go, except that at the moment the cube is like overlapping each other. I don't want that. I'm gonna give a little bit more space or gap in between. So I just multiply the value of index into as object locations, update it again. Kind of almost ready to go. Actually, we need more gap, and I will hide the master and update it again. Okay, now we have the 5 objects, and let's check real quick. These 5 objects have the same material, but each one of them, if we check underneath vertex color, it actually have separate different vertex color data as the color. And if I did everything correctly, if I switch to rendered, I can see the color. So this is the color. Cool. Yeah, so we get the color already. What else can we do with this? Let me save real quick. We can, of course, let's see. I make it right. Turn on ambient occlusion a little bit. I can simply update the frame and then wait a few seconds, and we have a new color. And this is grabbed from Color Lover website, and as a randomly, you know. What else can we do with this? Because okay, we have random colors. What if we one day we want to know what color is it? Is this like what's the name of the color and things like that? So that's kind of important. And also, what if we want to pick a color from here? Like, let's say I like this harvest color palette, and luckily the each color palette in Color Lovers is easily identified using this ID. So there's this color ID that we can use. First of all, though, these random colors, can we actually find out about the name of this color? Let's actually do that. Let's investigate a little bit using Python console. And remember that this script that we have in the inside script node is basically the same as a normal Python script. You can actually skip all these nodes altogether, but I found that having nodes, putting a script into nodes is it's easier for me. I don't know, maybe you find that as well. But as basically I want to do the same thing here. Okay, I want to go through the code step by step, line by lines, and then we will investigate what's really happening. From Color Lovers, import color lovers. Okay, now create a Color Lovers object, and then now grab a random color palettes. So now the pal is an object, and then we can see that's a pal ID. Pal is actually a list. Okay, currently it's a list because I'm using this what do they call it? A method, like a function that calls a method of these objects that gets a random palette, and the result is this pal. I thought that that's actually the real thing, but that's actually a list, because if we check the type, it's actually a list. And in order to access it, we need to get the first. I'm getting the item from the list. I'm using index 0. That's the first item. There's only one item in the list anyway. So if we access that pal index 0, we can now access the things like the ID, and then things like the title. So that the ID and the title is, of course, in this case, important. That's kind of the thing that we want to know. So we can add that into our script node. That's something I don't write on my blog. Maybe I should add as addendum, but we can easily grab that thing. So let's say for the new output, I will have like string and another string. Actually, one of them is not string, it's a integer as the ID, and then the string is going to be the title, the name of the color palette. Okay, if I'm not wrong, if I check here pal x and then check the method, we can grab more than just title, and we can also get the URL, and we can also get of course we get the colors. We're using the colors here, We can convert the colors into hex, integer, all those sort of stuff. We can get the XML. Oh, there are lots of this that I didn't explore, but maybe you want to try yourself. But here anyway, I will get the ID and title of this color palette. It's a random color palette, so we want the title and the ID as well. So the ID gonna be equal Paul index 0, and then it's gonna be the ID, and then the title itself is gonna be Paul index 0 and then title. Is that simple? Because thanks to the API, thanks to the Python module, we can have that, and we can check it in the debug here. So let's have a look. Title and then the ID, and then now refresh. So we're gonna have the color list, and then we have the name of the color palette, and then we also have the ID of that. If you check the color loafers palette, and basically it has like I think almost 500,000. I don't know how many they have, but if you put just random value there, you're gonna get an outcome, you know. Each color palette has a number, which is the ID that we can source it into Blender directly now. And I will also show it to you that we can easily pipe this into text objects. So I will show it to you real quick. So it's a text object currently upside down. Okay, that's a text object. I'm gonna make turn one into for the title and the other one for the ID. It's as simple as using the text object output in animation nodes. So we need one of these, and the text is gonna be the title, and the other one it's gonna be the ID, the integer number, plug into the text. We have the auto convert happening, and now let's update it again. I just tap on the arrow key and I'm updating the script. So I have this title. Now I have the title of this color, and then if I render it out, we have this change 354 3137 812. Okay, 3137 812. 3137 812. 3137 812. Change 354. This color palette is by Halifax, updated on November 22, 2013, November 22nd, 2013, and then we have this color palette. Of course, in their website, we can create like we can combine the colors to create a pattern. There is one thing that I want to do. So we can basically at the moment the setup is done. So whenever I update it, now I have a different color. Update it again, I have another color. So it's as easy as that, because we already have it. It's really cool, and it's updating like in real time as well. If you create an account with this website, you can grab your own color palettes, and I guess it's pretty handy. Now, what if you want to actually specify color palettes? So let's save this one and then save into new file. What if you want to access instead of random? What if you want to get the color that's happening here? In this case, get silly Symmetra, and you want this number and you want to pipe it in. How do we do that? So instead of random, you can actually make like a different kind of setup. Let's see. If I'm not wrong, if we actually use the CL palette and then just paste the number here, ID, copy, and paste it in here, we basically will get that color palette. So I'll update it. So this script gonna get the color. You see, we get the get silly Symmetra. So this is like a two different options. Type with a type 1 we can get random color palette. Okay, with a type 2 here we actually specifying get a specific color palette based on ID. So in this case the ID is 432759. Now if we want to make these nodes even better, we can create a new input, and it's going to be integer, and this is going to be the ID input. I'll call it ID input, and then I'll paste it there. Get the ID input, copy, and then just this is going to be the input for the cl.palette instead of palettes random. So by doing that, if we have a look here, if we type in like a random number there and then update our setup, okay, if we get 0, that means there's no, it doesn't have color palette with that number. But if we put in the right number like 34757, so this color palette is titled I miss you 34757. If I copy paste into the colorlovers.com, have a look, we get that exact color palette with that colors that you can download, and maybe you can use it for other things. But you basically have this color ready for you, right? All this color that you can, you can create your materials. You can do that also. You can take this node further and then make it to work for your own purpose, basically. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I want to show it to you. But as a bonus, I will also show an example where you can use this color to randomize objects in the scene. So we have this ID input. Also, I want to show to you that if we use integer input, if we use like things like this, integer input, whatever input here, like float input or things like that, we can plug this in, and then with this node we can turn on advanced nodes and then show in viewport. With that thing showing in viewport, we basically, if I save this real quick, I can basically hide the node editor. Now we have this thing on the screen, and I open the panel and then go to animation nodes panel. We have this panel. Okay, we can type in random number. Let me actually go back to the compositing. There's one thing I forgot. With the node 3, instead of just frame change, I also want to change whenever property being changed. This should update. Let's go back to this guy. Enter the value. Now it's updating the color, so it's a PK06 with ID number 547328. So basically, with this setup, we have access over 500,000 of data from this website, Color Lovers, and it's an open data. You can let's say you want to find the latest palette, or like the most popular palette at the moment. You can check it out, get the number, and you just use it. It's that simple. Maybe you like, hey, this color palette, macarons for Anna. This looks pretty cool. Let's have the click on it. You don't need to copy paste the color. You don't need to download this and then use the eyedropper. You just paste it. Just paste the number, the ID in there, and then wait a few seconds, and we get it. Macarons for Anna. And with that color ready, we can use it for whatever purpose we want. Let's see. Let me create something that's kind of interesting or useful. RX minus 90, oops, RX 180. So let's say we have this text, and then I want to turn it into something, letter B, for example. I'll improvise from here on, but we know that we can grab these colors already, so let's improvise. Extrude it. I will extrude it and turn it into a B mesh. Let's remesh. Smooth it. Okay, we have this thing. Cool. We can now we can kind of instance some objects into this guy, I guess. Convert it into a mesh, and then back to compositing and get our nodes 3 again. Back to animation nodes. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. So we have 5 colors over here, color list, and we have the preview of the color palette here with the title and the ID. Now I want to use the color to give like a random, I want to instance some things into these objects. Okay, maybe just icosphere or a cube. Let's use another cube, or just icosphere. Make it smaller, and I'll grab another object instancer, grab the icosphere, and then this icosphere should be using the same material that we have with the color vertex ready to use, and then turn on deep copy and copy full objects, and we want to instance the icospheres into this letter B. Let's grab these objects real quick. Objects in, or just I want to get the vector of that object, so object mesh data in, grab that object, and I will spawn the objects. So I will plug the vertex locations into the instance, and I will create another loop through vertex locations. Okay, and I want the object instance, so it's the object list, plug into that thing, and use object transform node, object transform output. Now we know that just by plugging the objects and the vector, we can we will get a result that we want, like the objects, the icosphere now being spawned into these objects positions. If this is actually working properly, I'm updating again, updating animation nodes, and then now we have what we want. We have a lot of lines there. I want to hide it. Turn off relationship lines because they are all parented to animation nodes locator. Okay, now I have these objects, but I want to use that color from color lovers into these objects. Let's see. All we need to do is just plug the colors into parameter. So here I will create new parameter. It's going to be color list because it's a list of colors. It's 5 colors, and I will plug the color list into that loop. And here I will use the object transform on a vertex color, set vertex color, plug this object, and then plug the color list. And then here we have this get list element, and we can use this for our purpose. We don't know how many objects there, and we can use a random number. Okay. because this is random number, and if we place it inside a loop and we plug the index into the seed, with the minimum and the maximum should be the exact number we want. Plug in the iterations into the max and the number into the index. Actually, I made a mistake. The maximum number is not the iterations, it's actually the number of colors. The numbers of color, okay? So that's, we need to get length, get list length, the total number of color, and the length plug into the maximum, and the number can go into the index. Now what's happening is if I update this, what's gonna happen in the background, get color palette with this ID, and then colorize all this data, and then plug pipe the data and randomize this object instance with using that color. Currently we have only 4 color. Let's have a look if it's actually working. And yeah, it does work. So cool. So this is pretty much kind of a setup that I thought will be really helpful for you as a Blender artist, as a 3D artist or designer, or let's say motion graphic designer, because just by selecting the right color palette, you know, like the right color combination is just like if in the music it's like a chord you can use, or kind of like a pattern in a beat that you when you kind of like a little bit like preset, okay? You want to grab a color from internet, okay, and you can find a color, you can find inspiration of color from anywhere, from real outside world. If you go out and you, hey, this is a nice color, and then this, I like this color combination, you take a picture of that color and then you bring it to Blender, right? That's one way to do it. Or maybe, okay, you have hundreds of photos, you might want to analyze the photo automatically, find the five most kind of like a major color from that photos, and then you want to store it. Eventually you want something like Color Lovers or the Adobe Color. You want to store your favorite colors and then to be able to use it real quick. And now we have this setup ready. So I'll get another color. This is called Harvest. I think we did Harvest there just now. It's okay, we just get the color ID and then paste it into data input, and then wait for a few seconds. Okay, by magic we have the new color applied into our setup. It's really cool. Let's try one more just for fun. Latest palette is not always the most interesting color, but you can find like find the most trending color at the moment. Where's the trending color? Search palette. Search by the one being lowest, must be. Okay, damn girl. Let's use this damn girl color palette. That's the title. Sorry about the swearing. Paste it there. Wait a few seconds. We're gonna come back to it. Let's browse for more color. There's another latest palette. Let's go back to this. See, browsing it can be super slow. Now it's using the damn color color palette. Video games. Let's get video games. And just paste it in there. Wait a few seconds, it's getting the color, and then I'm gonna put it into Blender, and you have a new result. Very cool. And it's of course the cool thing about procedural setup, you don't need to use you can, let's say I want the balls, this object instance being replaced by the monkey head, for example. Okay, just assign the material, and then you go back to the compositing real quick. Node 3 properties, node editor, and get this guy. Instead of the icosphere, I want the monkey head. So get the monkey head, wait a few seconds, it's gonna update. And it's become the monkey head. And the cool thing, of course, our color is still there, and then it's being randomized for each instances. And it's doing it for 1547 Suzanne, so it might be just a little bit slow. You can see the number there. There's actually, I don't know how many Suzanne, but it's a packing BVH. It's actually really fast compared to other renderer out there. And this is like, you have this on your hand, you know, this is Blender, this is open source, and I think that's more than cool. It's awesome, more than awesome, I think. So yeah, that's how you could use the Color Lovers API using animation nodes, and then I show it to you that you can also create this setup where you can just type in the ID of the color palette, and then you can update the color and everything just real quick. So everything is procedural, and it's this kind of automation is something that I really like. Normally, probably it's not. It's something that you will think, okay, it's too hard, it's too complicated. I think you either ask like someone else, like ask someone who can program, and okay, yeah, the programmer will say, okay, this is very easy. Just get the API, get the module, Python module, and you can do that, and it's really easy. And the person will give you the script, maybe a Python script, or maybe like an add-on. You can do that, but you can also because so many, I think lots of programmers are pretty busy. Lots of really good Blender programmers out there. I think maybe, and a lot of artists sometimes need tools like this, and sometimes developers are too busy to make a tool. You might be lucky if you ask in the Blender Stack Exchange and ask something, and then someone will make a tools like this, just like this, like a. Personally, I think script nodes is really powerful. Having to know add-ons like sphere choke and animation nodes, and then to know that you know that there are hundreds or thousands or a lot of really useful Python module outside that you can kind of use inside the nodes, and then you can make it into your own tool. It's really powerful. I think this is just a basic example, but maybe in the next live noding I will look into other kind of data. Color data, I love colors, I love pattern and shapes. I found this like a Color Lovers website is really really amazing tool you have on your hand. I think we must use it. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much what I want to talk about. If you don't understand any of what I'm talking about, you can read my blog articles or leave a comments down below, and I'll try to answer it. If it's too long, I will refer to somewhere else. And yeah, so here we go. This now you have like over 500,000 color palettes you can access really easily, thanks to the colorlovers.com, and thanks to the API, thanks to the module, thanks for Python, thanks for Blenders, and I don't like animation nodes and spread jobs. Okay, hopefully this is useful. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see